I kind of threw myself in the pool and just was trying everything out. I finally was like, I need to get into the kitchen. I need to go and pursue being a chef. Oh, I actually think I want to have my own business. I want to connect chocolate back to my culture.
Well, I am sitting here with Ashley. I'm super excited for this one because Ashley is all about chocolate. And that's the great thing about this podcast is I get to talk to so many awesome entrepreneurs that do so many different things. So Ashley, I have to ask, I mean, other than being, probably a kid that loved chocolate like most kids, what got you into wanting to start a business around chocolate?
Oh, that's a great story that goes all the way back to my childhood for sure. Back to my mom, back to my upbringing. I grew up on the border of Texas and Mexico, and my mom was born in Mexico, so we grew up going back and forth, visiting all my aunts and uncles and my grandma. And we really were always around food. So I think from a very young age, I fell in love with food and I love to eat. And as I grew up, I just kind of found myself pursuing a career in food. And I happened to end up in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And that's kind of where I got my start in kitchens and working in kitchens from the bottom, like on garde-manger, doing charcuterie and shucking oysters. I ended up becoming more interested in pastry, and then pastry led me to chocolate, and chocolate led me to my career at Dandelion Chocolate, which got me kind of my start in craft chocolate. And I very quickly realized that I wanted to do something in my life. Like I wanted my career to bridge all the different things that I think are unique to me, which are my culture, my upbringing, my passion for chocolate, and also my passion for sustainability and agroforestry. So working with the farmers, and chocolate was like literally the perfect thing that brought that all together.
Yeah, I mean, so walk me through it. Like chocolate, like why chocolate?
At the beginning, chocolate attracted me because it was one of the hardest things that pastry chefs have to do in their career. Like it's seen as something very technically difficult, and I'm always ready for a challenge, and I always happen to be attracted to the hardest thing possible. I don't know what that says about me, but that's definitely what got me into it. And I think at that same time that I had my journey or like my intro with the culinary world, I was also dealing with a lot of like personal identity, not struggles, but I would say like realizations. So really connecting. I found myself, because I was in San Francisco, I was away from my family. Working in kitchens, I never got to see my family. So I think I missed that part of me, and working in chocolate helped me connect back to my roots, because once I started learning about chocolate, I was realizing, oh, this is very much from a European lens. So a lot of the, French techniques of chocolate making. And as I was digging into my own cultural identity, being Mexican American, and asking questions from my mom about like, why do we drink chocolate? Like I know we grew up around chocolate, specifically this very famous brand called Abuelita. I was like, why do we drink that? Like, where does that come from? And so those kinds of questions led me to learning more about chocolate from a Mexican cultural heritage lens. And so I always say that like I think my journey with chocolate coincided with my journey with my identity. So of all those things, chocolate just clicked. Of all the things that I was learning in pastry during the course of my career, it struck a chord like deep inside of me.
I would love to know more about your business and, some of the struggles that went into it. So you decided to start your business around chocolate, completely different than what you went to college for. What were some of the struggles starting out? Not really. I mean, you got some training, right? But you think of a lot of people that start a pastry shop or a coffee shop or restaurant or whatever it is, that they have some solid background for a while doing it. So walk me through some of that like initial like, struggles that you went through. What were some of the struggles that you came across that you weren't really foreseeing?
Oh yeah. I mean, the biggest challenge was, I would say, financially. I had come from a very well-financed and beautiful, chocolate company where I had the top tier equipment at arm's length reach. And so I was so accustomed to using that incredible equipment and being just so well supported by, a whole staff, a whole team of people who were focused on marketing, people who were focused on the branding and the packaging. And so I knew that even though my talents were strong enough, right, to start my own company, I personally, I think sometimes I'm challenged when there's things that I don't necessarily want to do, which are like taxes and the business logistics of things. So I think that was a challenge at the beginning. I think I underestimated how hard a lot of those things were going to be. But I would say that my passion for chocolate, it kept me going. So I found a support system here in Austin of other entrepreneurs like myself who were very passion driven. Like I have friends who own a bakery. I have friends who have a candle business. And so these are all things that are craft centered. But because they're solo founders, they also have to deal with all those other things. So that support system has kind of mimicked, like a team at a regular company. So yeah, so even though there's those financial, logistical challenges, I'm working my way through them. I'm making sure they don't keep me down.
How have you overcome that? What kind of things have you implemented to make that part of your business flow a little bit better?
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely outsourcing. Outsourcing, like that was what got me on Bizee was when I was filing for the LLC, I was like, I have no idea what the first step is to do this. And so I was really happy to see a place like Bizee that had like so many things that were like just right then and there. I didn't really have to think too much about it. And I think I'm doing the same, basically replicating that with other parts of the business, just finding as many tools online that can help take the place of, staff that may be too expensive, right, as a startup to fund or to fund a whole person's salary. So I'm still one person plus I just hired a part-time person. So I think I'm prioritizing like, okay, I need physical people here to do the very physical things that need to be done, right? Like making the chocolate, selling the chocolate. But there's things, logistical things that are so easily resolved thanks to technology.
Walk me through. So I was watching, and I'm sure we'll link it below, but there's an amazing video that Bizee did for you about your business. And I thought it was really cool that you try to source all your cacao from local farmers down in Mexico, which as a small business can't be the easiest thing to do because you can't do it at scale. So how has that been, being able to get like actual cacao from, straight from the farm? Has that been a struggle?
Oh, that's been probably the most rewarding part of this work because I'm so passionate about the farmers in Mexico and the sustainability of growing the cacao and the long-term impacts that chocolate makers have on the cacao industry. It's been so rewarding to find people who align with that vision and going to the farms and seeing everything firsthand. I learned a lot of the values of integrity and ethics from Dandelion and am recreating those in my own brand. The biggest challenges truly are being a small company that's trying to bring cacao over or bring, import spices and sugar and things that, have all these crazy laws around them. So it's like, that's been the most challenging thing is making sure, everything I source, okay, we've got the right permits to source those or ordering enough cacao to ship directly to me, that was like the first biggest challenge I had. At the time that I was beginning, it was like I was making a bet. I was like betting on myself. So I was like, okay, I have to invest a certain amount of money up front, right? Because you can't just be like, all right, I'm going to take the cacao and then I'll pay you back, once I'm making money. It's like, no, you have to buy the cacao, up front and hope that you can sell it. And so that was kind of the biggest bet I made on myself at the beginning. There were times where the producer I was working with didn't have enough orders to fill like a whole truck. So I had to wait like 3 months until I got cacao. So I had to be very flexible and just like agile in my production and thinking about, okay, I've got only this much chocolate left from my last batch. I got to make it last until I can get my next round of cacao. So that was a big challenge, and it continues to be. But now my dream has always been to eventually have the chocolate made in Mexico, because I really want to support as much of the producers and the people who work in chocolate currently in Mexico as I possibly can. And I always see Hijita as kind of a bridge. Being a Mexican-American company, I want there to be some, part of it happening in Mexico and some part of it happening here in the U.S., just the way that I was born, right? I was born between both places. And logistically, that makes everything so much more easy. There isn't waste, because when you're importing or when you're exporting cacao to another country, and then that cacao gets to that place, you actually lose about 30% of that cacao during the roasting process and the deshelling process. So there's there's like a waste in that. And so it's actually like a perfect scenario that Mexico is literally right there, which is very unique compared to other cacao producing countries.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that as a small business, though? So because it is out of your control, have you found a solution to help your business continue to thrive despite running into issues with agricultural?
In the craft chocolate world in general, this is kind of like it is like just understood, right? There's nothing that you can really do about it, especially if you want to be a company that is making chocolate, like using cacao from all over the world, which is what a lot of craft chocolate makers do. So they'll source from different parts of Latin America, India, Asia, Africa, and they'll have maybe 10 different cacao origins that they source from. And so if their headquarters is in Pennsylvania or something, everything has to get shipped there. And there really is no way around that loss if you want to be a bean to bar company in the US. And so for me, I think it was just kind of perfect, because I always knew I wanted only to work with Mexican cacao to kind of tell my story of my childhood. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, wow, I can really have more of an opportunity to do more of like a tree to bar scenario, where the cacao, meaning that the cacao is produced at origin in that origin country. Tree to bar technically would be if I had my own farm in Mexico and then was making the chocolate on that farm. That would be a dream. That's definitely maybe someday in the future. But I'm making my way towards that. So I was able to find an amazing company in Mexico that has all of the equipment to make incredible chocolate. And because I'm a solo founder, I'm self-funded, chocolate is an incredibly expensive industry. The equipment is $50,000 per piece of equipment. It takes a lot of startup capital. And so me being, I don't come from money. I'm just here on my own doing this. I was like, okay, what strategies do I have to make a company that has the integrity and the ethics that I believe in, and that's also helping to provide jobs for both people in Mexico and here in the U.S. So yeah, it's kind of blossoming into a perfect situation.
What I can tell talking to you and talking to so many different entrepreneurs is the thing everyone has in common is just how passionate they are about what they do and how authentic they are when they are that passionate. And you can tell how authentic you are because of your love for what you do. Make sure you go check her out, and we'll link all her information below, and we'll see you on the next podcast. All right, thanks.